Let's go to Pearson. 8.3, simple interest. I hope you watched my video already. If not, let's go over what is simple interest. The process of generating simple interest is quite simple. Let's think about principle as a chicken. Yeah, let's describe. I describe the principle as chicken. And what is principle? Principle is the original amount of money you invest or you borrow. Let's say that one chicken is your principal. And we know chicken lay eggs. Then the eggs would be the interest. So in my table note, I describe principal as the chicken and describe the eggs with as the interest. The eggs come from the chicken, right? Yeah, when you invest in a chicken, you are hoping to have extra. Yeah, the extra is the eggs. So simple interest, let's look at the left side of the table note. Imagine the very beginning you have one chicken as the principal. And every year the chicken will lay 4 eggs. So the 4 eggs is your interest during the first year. And the next year, the beginning of year 2, you still have one chicken, right? And since during the second year, the chicken will lay another 4 eggs, your cumulated interest at the end of year 2 would be 4 times 2, 8 eggs. Does that make sense? And beginning of year 3, you still have your chicken, one chicken as principal. So in the process of simple interest, in the case of simple interest, your principal remains the same. The one chicken from the very beginning, that's your principal, remains the same over years. And every year you have 4 eggs as interest. Every year you have 4 eggs as interest. Then imagine after 10 years. After 10 years, you still have one chicken, that's your principal. And you're going to have 40 eggs as the interest, right? Yeah. So the important thing about simple interest is the principal remains the same. The interest also remains the same. Every year you have a fixed amount of interest. The same thing. Yeah, the amount of interest every year depends on the annual interest rate. And every year the same interest. Every year the same interest. So the process is quite simple. The formula of this section, we have 2 formulas from this section, but the second formula can be derived from the first formula. So the most important formula is the first formula, this formula, I equals P times R times T. Let's take time to explain the variables in this formula. I is the initial of interest. So I here represents the simple interest. This is a simple interest formula, by the way. Simple interest formula. Yeah, simple interest depends on 3 factors. The first factor is the P. The capital letter P represents the principal. That is the original money you deposit or you borrow. In reality, simple interest apply to loans. When you buy a home, you take a home mortgage, home loan. When you buy a car, you get a car loan, and you go to college, get a student loan or small business loan. Those loans charge you. Those loans charge you simple interest. So in the future, not only you have to repay return the principal you borrow, you have to return the simple interest generated from the principal, because those interest is the cost of the loan. Because the lender, the bank, give you the money, then you can use your money to do whatever you want. And there's a cost for doing that, right? The cost is the interest. P is the principal. Original principal is the amount of money originally you deposited or borrow. R here is a lowercase r. The lowercase r is the annual interest rate. Normally it's given as a percent, when we calculate, we have to convert a percent to its equivalent decimal. The third factor is t. Of course, the longer you keep the chicken, the more eggs you have, right? So t here is the time. Very important. T here is time in year. If you borrow the money for 10 years, t equals 10. But if you borrow the money for 18 months and you need to calculate the interest amount, please do not plug in t equals 18 because t here must be time in year. How many years in 18 months? Yeah, I'm asking if you can answer my question. How many years in 18 months?
In 18 months, you said, or?
Yes, 18.
1 year?
How many years in 18 months?
1 year.
1 year is 12 months. But we have 18 months. What about the other 6 extra months? It isn't 18 months 1.5 years? Hello, everybody. Is 18 months equal to 1.5 years, 1.5? Yeah, thank you, Leon Lauren. Yeah, exactly. All right. 18 months is 1.5 years. So if you borrow your money for 18 months, please do not plug in t equals 18. When you plug in t equals 18, that means you are borrowing the money for 18 years. So if you only borrow the money for 1.5 years, for 18 months, your value, the value for your t is 1.5. Okay. So imagine the I is your x. In the case my chicken eggs formula description, I is your x. How much eggs you will have depends on how many chicken you buy, you invest in, right? So that's the principle. Yeah, chicken your principle. The more chicken you have, the more chicken you invest, the more eggs you will have. And also depends on the productivity of the chicken. You can think, excuse me, you can understand the annual interest rate as the annual productivity of the chicken. In our table, our chicken lay 4 eggs every year, right? So if your chicken is very strong, can lay 5 eggs or 6 eggs every year, or 10 eggs, 100 eggs every year, then that means the R is bigger. R is bigger. So the productivity is higher. Then you will have more eggs. And also depends on the time. Yeah, you keep the chicken, you maintain the chicken, feed the chicken for longer time, and the chicken will give more eggs, right? Accumulate the interest. So this is the simple interest formula. Very, very important. Okay, I equals P times R times T. I is the simple interest. P is the original principal. R is the annual interest rate, must be annual. T is time in year. Okay, that's the concept of simple interest and the formula for simple interest. Now let's go to the homework and work on some questions, practice. First question. Find the following quotient. If the quotient is a repeating decimal, write the answer with a bar over the repeating digit or digits. When I grade your assignment number 2, assignment number 3, I'm sorry. Some of you have submitted assignment number 3. None of you use the bar. That's if the decimal is infinite but repeating, there is a way to describe that. Yeah, let's see what is this. Let's get a calculator. When I email you back with my feedback, and you should spend time to look at it. You don't have to resubmit if your score is already high, only a few or a couple mistakes. But I want you please look at my feedback, and you know why the parts you got wrong, how do you fix it? Let's divide 1 by 0.3. We do have a indefinite, we do have a decimal that is indefinite, infinite and repeating. So the answer should be 3.3. Above the second 3, this 3, we put a bar. So the answer should be C, okay? The answer should be C. 1 divided by 0.3 is 3.3, 3 repeating. There is a way to exactly to describe or represent the exact value of the result. Second question, solve the following equation for x. This equation actually is a formula. I'm not sure what kind of formula. If we have an equation, the equation includes more than one variables, then that equation is called a formula. This is actually a formula. If we solve the equation for a certain variable, in this case, we are solving the equation for x, then we are going to treat other variables as a constant. Let's say you have a very, very good friend. You are not related to the friend, but you see him as your brother. Even it's not in blood, but you treat him as a brother. Same thing here. I know U, F, N, they are just the variables, but you treat them, we are going to treat them as constants, as numbers. And with that said, then F plus N in the parentheses would be the coefficient of X. Coefficient is a very important concept in algebra. Coefficient of X. So when we solve the equation and isolate X, we divide each side of the equation by the coefficient. So the answer would be U in the numerator. Hold on.
More. Help me solve this.
Huh? What happened?
View an example. Get more help. Simplify your answer. More.
How do I start?
Help me solve this. View an example. Get more help.
Oh, I accidentally started the voice option. Okay, so this is a U, and the denominator is F plus N. Right? Any questions about number 2? I'm going to count to 3. If you do not respond, I'll just keep going to the next question. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Question number 3. The formula for calculating simple interest is P times R times T. We spent time earlier explained the formula, right? Where P is the principal, R is the annual interest rate, T is the time in year. Excuse me. Next question. Determine whether the following statement is true or false. If the statement is false, make the necessary change to produce a true statement. The statement says, in simple interest, only the original money invested or borrowed generates interest over time. That is correct. That is true. Yeah, in the case of simple interest, your chicken, originally the chicken you bought, you invest in, that's the principle over time. Every year, that's the only chicken you have, and all the eggs will be the all the eggs is from that chicken. So yes, in the case of simple interest, all the interests are generated from the original money you invested, and it's true because simple interest is interest computed on the original principal. Okay, here D, because simple interest is the amount of money that we get paid for lending or investing money, or that we pay for borrowing money. Hold on. So it's either B or D, and B is false, so it has to be D. Number 5, the principal P is borrowed at a simple interest rate R for a period of time T. Find the simple interest owed for the use of the money. Assume 365 days in a year. And we don't need to use this information at all. We are looking for the simple interest, right? So P times R times T. I'm going to process that directly on my calculator. Yeah, we remember the formula. Simple interest I equals P times R times T. Yeah, all the three values are given. We just need to multiply them together. 4,000 multiplied by 4%. 4% convert to decimal is 0.04. And then multiply by 1. You multiply 1, you don't have to multiply nothing, just 1. Yeah, $160. Question number 6. The principal P is borrowed at a simple interest rate R for a period. Okay, the same with earlier. We need to find the simple interest. Same with earlier, right? We just need to multiply all the three values together. $320 principal. Oops. 320 multiplied by 4%, 0.04. Multiplied by 2, 25.6. 25.6. This one is the same. Okay, you help me out. And when you see anything in the parentheses, please pay attention. Read it through. Do not run until the final answer, then run to the nearest cent as needed. And we have to follow that, otherwise we will not get the point. So principal P, 7,000, multiplied by interest rate, annual interest rate, 5.5%. That is 0.055. Be careful with the decimal point. And then multiply. You guys tell me, am I going to multiply 6 or what should I multiply? Should I multiply by 6? Yeah, Laura, thank you. No, we do not multiply 6. We multiply half, or 0.5, exactly. Yeah, T is 6 months. Be very careful. It is 6 months, but remember T is a time in year. We must multiply by the year. So multiply by 0.5. 192.5. 192.50, right? Yeah, nearest cents. Very good. Next question, number 8. Same thing. Just repeatedly use this formula. Then you won't forget it. Yeah. All right. So, okay. This one we need to use this condition. Okay. So remember the formula again. Simple interest I equals P times R times T. But T must be the time in year. Okay. Principal is 17,500 multiplied by interest rate 7%, that is 0.07, multiplied by time in year. Okay, help me out. How many years in 120 days? How many years in 120 days? How do we convert from days to year? This is how, okay? Yeah, we divide 120 by 365. Yeah, I want to make sure everybody sees that. 120 days is the same with 120 over 365 year. All right. So I'm going to multiply by 120 and then divide by 365. Round to the nearest cent as needed. So 402.74, round it up. 402.74. 402.74. All right. Any questions about how do we convert the days, 120 days, to its equivalent years? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Next. And this is to find, this is not find the simple interest. So make sure you read the question thoroughly. The principal P is borrowed at a simple interest rate R for a period of time T. Find the loan's future value A, or the total amount due at time T. So let me work on the formula. So in simple interest, both simple interest and the compound interest, we use A to represent the future value of your account. Future value. A is the initial of accumulated balance. Yeah, when you borrow is the accumulated balance you owe. When you invest, that's the accumulated balance in your gain. Yeah. So A in the future value, yeah, you get a loan, and the loan generates simple interest. And in the future, when you repay, you have to repay the principal and the interest. Okay, yeah, all you need to know is this formula. If you want more, if you don't mind to remember, then we plug in I equals P times R times T, and then factor P out. In the parentheses, we have 1 plus R times T. And if you don't mind, you can remember this formula, but you really don't have to. All you need to do is to understand the future value of your loan is the sum of your principal and the interest. That makes perfect sense, right? You get a car loan, then for 4 years. In 4 years, you have to repay the money you borrow, also the interest generated from the money you borrow. So you have to pay more, of course. The extra money is the cost of the loan. So A, future value of the loan, is the sum of the principal and the interest. Just remember that. All you need to know is understand and remember. Remember I said once you understand, you will remember. Unless you don't really understand, then you do not remember. Yeah, future value of the loan is the total, is the sum of the principal and the interest. With that said, let's see how we process this problem. And we are looking for the future value. In order to know the future value, let's find out the simple interest first. Okay? By the formula, simple interest formula, I equals P times R times T. So 5,000, 1, 2, 3, times 4%, 0.04, times 5 years. That's the interest, right? Wow, that's a lot. For 5 years, 100. So 200 every year for 5 years. It is $1,000. Yeah, it's a lot of money. And you're gonna add the interest on top of your principal, 5,000. So you're gonna pay back 6,000. 6,000. We learn those content. Those content is actually very useful, very closely related to the real world. So make sense of the value, make sense of the concept, the variable is more important than just doing the algebra. Round it to the nearest cent as needed. We don't have to round it. I'll just enter that. Question number 10. Okay, so we are going to find the loan's future value A. Same with earlier. So same idea. We are going to find out what's the simple interest and add the simple interest to the principal. Simple interest I equals P times R times T. P is 18,000. 18, 1, 2, 3. Multiplied by by annual interest rate 8.5%, 0.085, and then multiplied by 5 years. Add those money to 18,000. So you're gonna pay back $25,650. 25650. 25650. Question number 11. We need to find the loan's future value. Same type of problem. Okay, same strategy, same process. Find the simple interest first, and then add the simple interest to the principal to get the future value of the loan. I simple interest equals P times R times T. P 6,000 multiplied by R 0.065 multiplied by what? 8 or what? 8 months. How many years in 8 months? You have to divide by 12. Okay, yeah. 8 over 12. That is 2/3 of a year. 2/3 of a year. 8 over 12. Yeah, 2/3 of a year. So that's the principal. That's the interest. Add the interest on top of the principal. So we have 6,260. 6260. 6260. So far, nothing has been challenging. The only thing we need to be careful is the T. When the T is in months or in days, we're gonna have to convert to the corresponding years and then plug in the formula. This problem determine the simple interest or determine the simple interest rate. Okay, we need a little bit work. Let me see if I can use the snipping. We are looking for simple interest rate. It works today. Perfect. So we are looking for the simple interest rate R, the annual interest rate. Okay. So we would do this first. I would find out the interest first. The simple interest amount is the future value of the loan minus the principal you borrow. In our case, $3,090 minus 3,000, so that is $90. Okay, yeah. And remember, I equals P times R times T, right? So I is 90, P is 3,000, R is not given. R is the value we are trying to find. So keep R here. T is 1. Yeah. Multiply by 1. Since 1 is the multiplicative identity, when you multiply by 1, you don't have to really write it out. It's just nothing. It doesn't do anything. Multiply by 1 doesn't change nothing. And now we are going to solve this equation. We are going to divide each side by 3,000. And on the right-hand side of the equation, we have R isolated. On the left-hand side, we have 90 over 3,000. Is the interest over the principal. That is the interest rate. That makes perfect sense, right? Because the interest is the part, P is the whole. Part over whole is the percent, and that percent represents the interest rate. So let's see, what is 90 over 3,000? 90 divided by 3,000. 0.03, but you do not enter 0.03. That happened last semester when I look at the test result, the result test 2. They just enter 0.03. Look at here. Why do you need to practice? Why do you need to do your homework? And you also need to pay attention to memorize something. And here we have a percent sign. You see the percent sign. So please do not enter 0.03. 0.03 is equivalent to 3%. So all you need to do is to enter 3 here. Then you get it right. And this instruction, round to the nearest tenth of a percent as needed. Since we have a whole number, we can just leave it like that. All right? Yeah. The reason you have this here because is programmed. The system is programmed. When the number is switched, you might get a decimal, and in that case, you need to round following this instruction. But in our case, our value give us a whole number in front of the percent, 3%. So all we need to do is just enter the 3. All right. Any question from number 12? Flexibly using the formula. Yeah. Sometimes earlier in previous questions, we are looking for I, we are looking for A, but we could also look for R if other variables are given, the values are given. You just have to use algebra. That part might be challenging for some of you, not all of you, but some of you, because you at least need to know how to solve this equation, right? Let's continue. 1, 2, 3. Next question. Question number 13. Principal, future value. Okay, same with earlier. We are looking for the simple interest rate. I'm going to copy paste because it's not a 1 year. This question has 4 years. 4 years we can also get it done by making sense of it. Yeah, let me do that first, and then use the formulas. So if you really understand what's going on with the interest, this is you can do quickly. So I'm going to use the future value of the loan minus the principal, 11160 minus 9,000. That's the interest for how many years? For 4 years. If you divide that by 4, that's the interest for every year, right? Yeah, that's the interest every year. And you divide that interest by the principal, 9,000. And you have the interest rate is 6%. You don't even have to solve the algebra. But I'm not sure you understand that. Let's do the algebra. Let's use the formula. to use the formula. What formula? A equals P plus I. P plus I is P times R times T. And factor T out, we have 1 plus R times T. So let's plug in everything that we have. A is given 11160. P is given 9,000. And 1 plus R is not given. R times T, so it's 4R. T is 4. So R times 4 is the same with 4 times R. Close the parentheses. Let's solve this equation. Solve the equation is like a peeling an onion. We're gonna get rid of the outer skin first. Divide each side by 9,000. Divide by 9,000. Divide by 9,000. And we have 11160 over 9,000 on the left side. We have 1 plus 4R on the right side. And then subtract 1 from each side. 11160 minus, I skipped some steps. You minus 1. 1 is 9,000 over 9,000. So this fraction minus 1 is the same with that fraction minus 9,000 over 9,000. So they have the same denominators. I process the numerator. And that gives me 2160. Yep, over 9,000. 4R. And then divide by 4. Divide by 4, divide by 4. Divide by 4 here, and then divide by 4 here. So my R is gonna be 2160 divided by 4, and then divided by 9,000. Same thing, right? We got a 6%. So, you know, instead of doing those stuff, I think we should try to understand what is simple interest. The first method that I apply is actually the better method. When you use A to minus P, the difference between A and P, that's the interest for 4 years. In the case of simple interest, every year the interest is the same, right? So if you divide that total interest by 4, you would have the interest for 1 year. And then you divide the interest for 1 year by the principal, you will have the interest rate, annual interest rate. Yeah, let me know, am I clear about the easier way to find out the R? When you really understand it, then you actually don't have to do much algebra. Yeah, now I need you to respond me. Have done this class. Do you understand what I said earlier for that question? Yeah, please respond me. Thank you, Leon. Yeah, annual interest rate, simple interest rate, simply is simple interest divided by principal. Okay, thank you, Aiden. Thank you, Ashley. The simple interest all makes sense. Okay, perfect. Natalia and okay, you can email me if you don't want to ask right now. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Number 14. How many do we have? 23. The principal is borrowed is future value of the loan. Determine the loan's simple same with earlier. Same with earlier. Okay, so for 3 months. Okay, I'm going to use the method I had earlier. Okay. Let's firstly find out how much the interest for 3 months. I'm going to use the future value 2772 to minus the money you borrowed 2300. Okay, that's how much interest you have over 3 months. Over 3 months. Now, how much the interest is gonna be over 1 year? 3 months is a quarter, right? Yeah, a quarter of the year. 1/4 of the year, the interest is this much. If we multiply by 4, do we have the interest for the whole year? Huh? Yeah, thank you, Lauren. Yeah, we're gonna have the interest for the whole year. And then we're gonna use that interest, the interest amount, to divide it by, oh, the loan's simple interest, is a simple interest rate. Once you see the percent sign, is interest rate. So we are going to use the interest amount to divide it by the principal, 2,300. Wow, that is unbelievably high. Yeah, because only 3 months you owe 472. Of course, over the year you're gonna owe more than 1,000. So we're gonna round to the nearest tenth of a percent as needed. 82.1. Okay, we're gonna keep those three because we move the decimal point two times to the right. We have 82.08 and 8 is bigger than 5, so round it up. 82.1. 82.1. 82.1. Yeah, but in reality, please never borrow money, with that kind of interest. Is horrible. They're gonna ruin your life. Okay, so let me repeat what I have done, what we have done for this question. I use the concept of interest rate. Interest rate is just the interest. It's just the interest amount for 1 year divided by the principal. So the difference between A and P is the interest for 3 months, for a quarter of the year. So we multiply by 4, we have the interest for 1 year. And then we divide that interest of 1 year by the principal. We have the interest rate. Interest rate is a percent. And this one, present value. Okay, let's see how do we get that done. We need a present value for 3 years. A equals, this is not convenient, so let's use algebra. Let's use algebra. So I'm going to copy paste and then we work on the OneNote. We are looking for P, right? The missing value is the value of the principal. Okay, so remember we have I equals P times R times T, and A equals P plus I, so A equals P plus P times R times T, and if we factor P out, we have P times 1 plus R times T. This is the formula, second formula on the guided note. I said you don't have to remember because you can derive it quickly. It doesn't spend me much time. I derive that. And now let's plug in whatever the value which is already given. A is 7,000. P is missing, right? We don't know the P. And R is 2.5%. That is 0.025 times T. T is 3. And that is 7,000. I'm going to simplify this part in the parentheses. Okay, I'm going to simplify that. multiplication before addition. 0.025 times 3, that is 0.075. So plus 1, that is 1.075. Or we can write the number in front of the variable by habit, by convention, 1.075p. And then this number is the coefficient of p. And then we divide each side. Yeah, I always draw a vertical line to separate the left side and the right side of the equation when I solve an equation. And then we're going to divide each side by the coefficient, 1.075, 1.075. And we would have p isolated on the right-hand side. Left-hand side is 7,000 divided by 1.075. We're going to use a calculator to find out what is the principal. 7,000 divided by 1.075. How do we round it? Read the question. Round up to the nearest cent as needed. Good news is the system in MyLab Math, the assignments, they always remind you to round it up. Yeah, when we try to determine the principal, how much money we borrow or invest in order to reach a certain future value of the account, we need to make sure you will not have a shortage, yeah, because of the rounding. So for that reason, we always round up. Yeah, in this case, it tells you round up to the nearest cent. Let's see, how do we round it up? We need to round it up anyway. But even the 7 here, guys, even the 7 here is 1 or 0 or 2 or 3 or 4. Following the normal rounding rule that we're supposed to round it down. But if you see the instruction says round it up, you still have to round it up. So no matter what this value is, you always have to round it up. So the answer is going to be 6511.7. Sorry, 63. 6511.63. 6511 point. I forgot already. 63. Yeah, if you watch my video, the class video I made for this section, I stress that more times. When we look for present value, principal, in order to reach a certain future value, we need to make sure we would rather have more than we will have a shortage. So for that reason, we always round it up. Yeah, but to make it simple, just follow the instruction. Follow the instruction. So in order to reach that 7,000 future value, and today you have to deposit or borrow that kind of money. Yeah, let me know if that is clear, guys. Yeah, some of the questions you would have to do algebra. Yeah, this is a math class anyway. Perfect. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, and we run out of time. We would have to stop here, and you're gonna have to finish the rest of the question on your own. We have 23 questions in total. We did a lot of the questions, more than half of them. All right, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. You guys have a good evening. I'll see you tomorrow. And also good luck for this week. Yeah, find a time to go to the testing center. I'll say good luck. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Natalia.